I'm Mike Kamate.
I'm Jacob Tender.
Welcome back to Bantha Fodder. We are on episode 17. Are we at an anniversary?
Yes, this is the 1 year anniversary. Isn't it kind of fitting that episode 17 is the first of 2017?
Oh, I was going to say that 17 is a totally random number to me as far as anniversaries go. But yes, now that we are in the year 2017, it makes a little bit more sense to me that you're saying that.
Yeah, we've made it an entire year. We celebrated it, I think, last week.
That's my line usually, is to be like, wow, we made it. Oh my God, I can't believe we actually got to the next episode.
We did it though. I think we did a good job.
I'd say so, looking at the stats you pulled up here.
Yeah, I do have some stats. I'll share those. We did 16 episodes in 2016. It means we got to do 17 episodes in 2017 and so on.
I say more. I say we can
more?
do more.
Yeah. I think we can do more too. I really do want to try and do more episodes this year. I think that's the goal. We have a couple outlined now, so hopefully we can start out the year on a good foot. And I think with that in mind, hopefully we can come through. So do you have a goal? Do we want to talk goals too? Do you have a goal for how many episodes you want to do?
This is like when people tweet their New Year's resolutions.
Yeah. Let's do that. That's stupid,
don't know
right?
because this is not just a tweet that I can delete later. This is a podcast that we're probably not going to want to delete because of everything else that comes afterwards.
All right, fair enough. No goals, just more
quality content. We're going to come up with quality content this year, much like we did last year, and that's how I feel about it. I just want to focus on putting out good podcasts.
Me too. Okay, so 16 episodes. That's one episode every 23.64 days. So more than one a month, basically. Obviously, with 16 episodes in 12 months, that's not bad. We were holding out with like the bi-weekly thing for a long time, but we're busy folks.
We took a little time off in the summer, didn't we?
Yeah, maybe towards the summer or fall. I mean, that's kind of a slow time for Star Wars anyway, and that's kind of when we were doing a bunch of stuff that wasn't really topical. We did a bunch of stuff on because we did a bunch of like movie related things earlier in the year, and we did a couple of books and some things like that, but we've been picking it back up. As far as the average length of an episode, this is kind of interesting to me. I track all of my podcasts just so I can like kind of get a feel for how the averages work out over time, and in 2016, the average length of a Bantha Fodder episode was 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 1 second. So that's pretty good. That's kind of like on track with what we wanted. We definitely had some longer ones, but
how do you feel about that length of episode? Do you, as a person who listens to podcasts, as a person who makes podcasts?
I think it's an hour too short.
Oh God. Okay, that's.
But that's again where we disagree. I know you like the shorter ones.
Oh man, I just thrive on 15-minute podcasts. If we could honestly squeeze in, like, I don't want to do like a Star Wars news minute, but if we could just squeeze like a really great Star Wars concept into 15 minutes, I'd feel great about that.
I don't know if that's possible for me, buddy.
I'll put that goal down. Let's get a 15-minute episode at some point this year.
Okay, bring that average way down. Yeah.
Oh, that'll just be the crazy outlier.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think when we started this thing, we aimed for like 45 minutes to an hour, like an hour at max, and I don't think we hit that more than 2 or 3 times. We generally go pretty long in the show, and that's fine with me. I think a lot of people listen to podcasts the way that I do. That is, if they don't have like a lot of time. People that have a lot of time or like a job that allows them to do that, to listen to podcasts, they'll listen to them at normal speed. But for me, since I don't, and I think a lot of people who don't, they'll listen to them at a faster speed. I listen to mine at almost 2x. So that takes the average episode of Bantha Fodder down to a half hour, which is totally digestible. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are the stats. That's how we did it. It's the magic behind the keys, behind the mics,
behind Mike. I'm Mike.
Behind Mike, for sure. Mike does like all of the creative work. We come up with the concepts of the show together. I do a lot of the admin stuff as far as putting the artwork together and the show notes and administering the website and keeping track of all these useful stats. But Mike is the guy that does all of the editing and the mixing, and he's definitely the magic man, Magic Mike.
I have that nickname in other aspects of my life too. Not for this podcast though.
Yeah. So thank you, Mike, for all you do.
Thank you for all you do. I don't think these podcasts would be on the internet if it wasn't for you. So I treasure you. Treasure our friendship. Treasure our love. Oh. It's a great thing.
Thanks, buddy. On that note, let's talk about the highlights. Just a few highlights before we get into tonight's episode.
How can you even narrow it down? Oh, man.
I know. I was trying to think of like the best things, and the first thing I thought of obviously was like were like the last two specials that we did in the year. So the holiday special was really fun. I really enjoyed that. I really liked doing some like how do you say it? What's the noise? What is it when you make noises?
Like Foley?
Yeah, we did. We like really late. We got together, did some Foley over mics with wrapping paper and tape.
That was all you. Sound design.
That was your idea.
Yeah, I mean, just to sum that episode up, I mean, it's 2 episodes back. If you haven't listened to it, definitely check it out. That's one of the most proud moments I've had in this show, probably just because I've never heard anything like it. You know, and I think when I do something that I haven't heard before or haven't heard of before, I think that's just a good feeling. And I don't think anybody's done something like that, but like as far as Star Wars goes on podcasts.
Yeah, at least not that I've heard. I've heard audio dramas and stuff, but I love a good story. You know, a good like sit by the fire and just listen to story. And you know, I came up with that poem, and it was really fun. And you had some really good ideas, and the mixing on that was awesome. So much of that was so cool. All the cantina background noise and the little bits from the movie, and you made it really, really great. So that was definitely one of my favorite moments. And I also really liked the rap.
Oh my God. Well, that's something, yeah, I mean, we talk about like me designing stuff and making things come through, but that rap episode that you did, the Rebellious Landino rap, I don't think I would have ever thought of that in a million years.
I think about this kind of stuff all the time, but I've never worked with somebody that encouraged me to put that out or was willing to work with me to put that out. So that's like, of all things that I've worked on with you, Mike, like that's probably the one thing I'm most proud of, and the thing I'm most grateful to you for actually like tolerating it, and not only tolerating it, but like adding to it and making it so much better with your production.
You honestly didn't need much prodding for that, though. That was like you spit one line that you probably been working on during the recording of the episode. About talking about Donald Glover, and then the next day you came back, you're like, oh, I wrote a rap. We have to do a rap. I wrote like, and you had like 3 verses done in like 24 hours. It was insane. So so any credit you're giving me is way exaggerated.
You're too kind. Man, this came to me today while I was kind of putting together the notes. I was writing down all these favorite moments of mine, and I recall when we first started this thing, we really wanted to be everywhere. Like as far as, you know, the podcast goes, we wanted to be on iTunes, wanted to get on Google Play, which wasn't really like a thing yet. So I don't even think we were on there until maybe like 10 episodes in. But we also wanted to be on YouTube, and I created the YouTube channel, like put all the artwork on there, filled in all the information, put our social channels on there. And then I uploaded the first episode. And it took forever to produce the video because I have a really old MacBook, and, you know, video rendering sucks even when it's just a static image and some sound. But I uploaded the video, and like within an hour, the video was not only taken down, but our entire YouTube account was banned. Banned on the first episode. What
kind of devious stuff were you slipping into our videos, dude?
Well, the title was Half Naked Chained to a Giant Slug. So I thought that had something to do with it. It turns out it was just a glitch on YouTube's end.
Yeah, that's what they always say. There's some weird stuff going on at YouTube right now.
Yeah, but at least we're there. I know we're a little behind on the episodes with that, but our viewership on there is very low, so the returns aren't really worth the investment of time. What else, though? What else? What are some other highlights on your end?
I think another proud moment for me was the collecting episode.
Yeah.
That's something I kept, you know, in the back of my head since we started the podcast, and it finally came to fruition about halfway through the year. And I was just really pleased with every aspect of that episode. It made me feel more accomplished of a radio person than I am, because you know, I scored the entire thing. I went on site for interviews. I transcribed the interview, which made it a lot easier, but also took way longer than I wanted it to. But yeah, it was a really good moment for me as far as transcriptions and learning how to be an actual radio producer as opposed to just somebody in my bedroom recording myself spitting about Star Wars.
Yeah, you put a lot of work into that one. That was definitely your baby. We had that one on the list for a really long time, and you're really adamant about, not just talking to somebody new, like doing an interview for it, but really setting up like the juxtaposition between your friend Jared and me, and the way that we collect and the way that differs, and tying that all together with anecdotes and, pieces of audio and the script that you wrote. I think that was a really, really great piece of work.
Thank you. Your baby, though, was the GIF episode. As far as I'm concerned, that was your little baby. Do you remember which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was the Rogue One trailer dissection.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while I'll go back just to hear an episode to see how it was mixed and try and match it. And I chose that one recently for the audio reasons, but also to know like how close we were with our predictions for Rogue One. And I mean, just listening to that episode again, it really highlighted all the changes that went into Rogue One in the final product, and everything that kind of got shifted around. Stuff that we talked about in the trailer never ended up being used in the movie, and I thought it was just funny. But we based predictions off of that. Yeah,
that's interesting. I actually haven't gone back to listen to that episode yet, but so much of that movie did change from the trailer. I mean, that trailer had a very different tone, and it had a lot of scenes that just didn't end up making it. But overall, that episode was also really cool because, we kind of worked from the template that was my trailer breakdown, and you put those pieces into it. So you essentially made an audio version of what I made, which had absolutely no sound. So it was like the complete opposite. And together, I feel like it was a really cool like piece of interactive media. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was fun trying to like remix the loops and everything like that, pull sound effects and sirens from the trailer and kind of inject them into what we were doing there.
Yeah. I think overall, what's been most fun for me in these first 15 or 16 episodes is that we tried a lot of stuff. I don't think any two episodes really sound that much alike as far as production goes, because, whether we were changing equipment or changing the way that we were mixing things, I think it all sounds very different, all very good, but we tried so many different styles just because we could. I think you and I have both found podcasting as like this new outlet where we can try new things as far as audio and content goes. And I love all of the things that we've been able to try with the show, because it's an experiment. It's an ongoing experiment mixed with our love for Star Wars. And I love that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's a medium that I was used to consuming, on commutes, but never anything I envisioned myself creating. I think it's one of those things like before I started playing music as like a 11 or 12-year-old looking at bands and saying, oh, this is really cool. I can't imagine what it's like to play guitar and sing or something like that. And then, 2 years later, I become a musician, or I start playing music and singing in a band and doing all that doing the things that I never thought I would be able to do. And, you obviously see yourself. I look back at how I was at 13 and, you grimace, and I'm sure I'll be doing that with Bantha Fodder episodes come 10 years from now. But yeah. I think that it's a good start. And I'm happy that I was encouraged by you to get that start.
Me too. And I like that you mentioned being in a band, because being a co-host and a co-producer of the show with you is the closest I've ever felt to being in a band. I've written about bands for almost a decade. I am a huge fan of music. You're a musician. You've been in bands. Like you've done that. You've been a touring musician with touring artists. Like you've done collaborative work with people like this before. And this is really, for me, the first time that I've ever worked with another person so closely on something that gets released to the world. It's not like having an editor. It's not like working with other journalists on a website. It's very much a give and take of ideas and compromise to make a work that goes out, and it's something that we're both happy with. And I think that's been really enlightening for me and very, very helpful for me in creating stuff in 2016.
Yeah, this is the most collaboration I've done since probably high school, I would say. My high school and college bands. And that was a long time ago. That was roughly 40 years ago.
Well, cool. Well, thank you, everybody who listened to the first year of Bantha Fodder. We hope you stick around for year 2. If you have any ideas for things that we should talk about, you can send us a tweet at Bantha Fodder FM. You can send us an email if you have something to say that's longer than 140 characters, our email is banthafodderfm@gmail.com.
Yeah, we welcome constructive criticism there. So, if we hit a topic and you're not happy with how we talked about it, let us know. I mean, we're critics here. We're not here to just talk about how much we love Star Wars, and that's part of it for sure. But we also want to discuss things with a critical eye too. So disagree with us once in a while. We'll definitely respond to you and tell you how we feel and kind of see if we can find a middle ground and maybe learn something from each other in the process.
Yeah, I'm actually not opposed to reading reader emails on the show. If somebody has like a good point about something or something that we missed in follow up to a prior episode or a topic that we're planning to talk about, I'd love bringing in those extra voices. We haven't done a whole lot of guests on the show. Is that something that you've thought about, Mike? Is that something that you'd be into doing?
I got something on my sleeve for this year.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, say no more. I like surprises just as much as our listeners do. So keep that in your pocket and let me know whenever you need me. All right. Do we have anything else on follow-up before we move on?
Well, you have some stuff going on, some news.
Yeah. Actually, just today, I got a new blog post put up on the Cantina Cast website, which is really cool. I've been reading the Cantina Cast for a couple of years now, actually, and the people that host the podcast there have always been really supportive of our show. So, Tarkin's Top Shelf, Idiots Array, those guys are always really cool people to talk to. Becca has been just awesome and really encouraging about me writing in Star Wars. So she published this for me at the Cantina Cast. It is a comprehensive piece about some of my favorite characters who you have probably heard of in this podcast before, especially if you listen to the holiday special. I did a complete comprehensive history of Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba. So it's fairly lengthy, but it details everything that we know about them as far as canon goes currently. So it includes all the cantina, it includes Jeddah, everything that we've seen in the movies, as well as stuff that you may not know that's been included in like the DK Ultimate Visual Guides and stuff like that. So check that out. That's pretty cool. And then as far as my collection goes, because Mike, I know you like my little collection updates. I got something new. Yeah,
is this the one you sent me a picture of?
Yeah, yep. I don't know. Did I send you a picture of the thing altogether? I know I sent you a selfie when I got in the car.
You sent me a picture. Yeah, that was a maniacal selfie you just sent me. That was.
I was so thrilled.
So for the listeners out there, let me just describe what Jake sent me. I got a text message that just, I would say half of the frame is filled with Jake's face, from like the right above his mouth to like the top of his head, and he's got this like wide eyes, just kind of crazy grin going on, and then over his shoulder in a car. So he's taking a picture while he's in his car. I don't know if you're in motion or not, but
Walmart parking lot. We're safe.
Sure. Okay. Fine. Yeah. But yeah, you were just smiling at this thing that was sitting in the back of your car, and it is I want to guess the length here. I want to say, front to back, this thing is 5 feet long.
From the angle that you saw it, considering that it was in pieces when I sent the selfie, that's a pretty good guess. It's actually longer than that.
I'm basing it off of the picture you sent me later.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's 7 feet long.
7 feet long. It's a Naboo starfighter, which for anybody who is not familiar with the prequel trilogy, this is the yellow fighters that Anakin Skywalker flies at the end of Phantom Menace. But yeah, this is what was sitting in the back of your car with that crazy grin.
This thing is awesome. It's been on my Grail list for quite a while. This was a display item in Toys R Us in 1999 when the Phantom Menace came out. So this was one of the things that you would see hanging from the ceiling above the new collection of Star Wars toys that everybody rushed out to buy and have almost no value now. This, on the other hand, does have some value. I have been following it on eBay for quite a while, so whenever one pops up, I'll take a look and kind of watch it just to see what the prices are. Generally, the pricing starts without any bids somewhere in like to the $600 to $800 range, which is absolutely crazy. That's bonkers. I ended up picking this one up from a local seller for $260.
Wow, that is a great turn right there. As far as
It was really great pickup. The guy was super awesome. He lived nearby in Akron, so we met up in a town about halfway between the two of us, and stood outside in the rain for probably like 20 minutes and just talked about Star Wars and collecting and where he got it. He got it at a garage sale years ago. Talked about things that we missed out on. We both have the same top grail, which is the I think it's like the 6 foot in diameter Millennium Falcon that they had at Toys R Us sometime in the 80s, I think. Thing's massive. That's the dream. But he was really cool. Handed this thing over, and I got it home, put it together. Figured out that I actually had absolutely nowhere to put it. I can't hang it because I rent, and I can't just put anchors in the ceiling whenever I want to. So it's resigned to leaning against the wall in the corner of my office, which is still very cool. It's in sight here, and it's pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked about it.
It is. I mean, based on that picture, you are very stoked about it. And the picture, I think after you sent that picture, I said, "Where are you going to put that thing?" And you're like, "Whoa." I didn't think about that.
I didn't even think about it.
That was your response. You're just so focused on having this thing, and now it's just in your corner of your office right now. Just
yeah, folks, I'm ridiculously irresponsible.
When it comes to Star Wars collections, I think in the rest of your life, you got
someday I'll have a house of my own. I envision having a very big like foyer wherein I have very tall ceilings with, like a huge staircase going up in front of you in front of the door, but above you would just be this like this black scene with speckles of stars and all of my gigantic ships hanging from it.
LEDs.
I just think that'd
you
be
gotta
the coolest
install
thing.
LEDs in the ceiling and suspend them. Oh, that would be really cool. Like a 3D, like a diorama in your entryway.
Exactly.
If I
sweet.
walked into someone's house, my initial reaction would be like, "This is an insane person that I'm visiting right now." But then you
would be like, "This is so cool."
That would be in the next 10 seconds. I'd be like, "Wow, this is actually really cool." But the insane person would definitely be the first 10-second reaction for that.
Well, someday, that's the dream.
Onward.
Cool. Let's dig into the main topic.
Okay.
Yeah. So, have you been reading the news? Like the Star Wars news?
Yeah, I have, but I was in Las Vegas for the past 4 days on a little vacation, and so you've been giving me my news because I wake up in the morning and the first thing I see is the news from 3 hours ahead. You catch me up in the morning. But yeah, Star Wars Episode 8.
The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is the title of Episode 8. The release date of this movie is December 15th, 2017.
Only 10 months to go.
Rian Johnson's directing, and yeah, we're coming up on it. So let's talk Last Jedi.
This is one of those things that I'm so hesitant to do.
Why is that?
Because we have nothing to go on here besides a title and I guess an opening shot, of Rey handing Luke a lightsaber. So I don't know if I can feel good about making predictions at this point, but I'm happy to talk about it and discuss it as the rest of the internet is doing and kind of get all the thoughts into one spot. So yes, we have to push forward with this.
Yeah, I just want to brain dump because I've been like tweeting back and forth with some people and just kind of like thinking about like what the title can mean, if anything, because, we don't know how significant it's going to be. The Force Awakens was a pretty general title. It kind of talked about how like the Force kind of reawakened after the Jedi were in hiding for so long. And now we've got like this new Force wielding person to rise up against this, this semi-Sith bad guy. It kind of makes sense. It fits the movie, but it's not explicit. It's not like a super explicit title. But this, however, this title, it could be really explicit or could mean nothing at all. So I'm kind of back and forth on different theories, and I'm not entirely sure what it could mean. But I like the idea of what it could mean. So that's kind of what I want to get out tonight. I just want to like brain dump everything and just try to figure out where I actually want to land on this thing.
I feel like it's deliberately vague to kind of stoke the fire for this movie. Let me think of it in a different way. I mean, the prequel trilogy, we don't really there's not a lot of suspense in that, I think, because we know where it's going in the end of it. So Phantom Menace, that was something that surprised us because it was the rebirth of Star Wars for the new generation. So Phantom Menace, we have to learn what that is. Attack of the Clones, we know there's a clone war, and Attack of the Clones, it's not very ominous. It's saying that there is something the clones are going to attack. We don't really know what capacity, but there's going to be clones involved. So then we have Revenge of the Sith, which we know is what, the Sith have become in these prequel trilogies. Darth Sidious and Count Dooku are going to bring the Jedi to their knees, essentially, which is what happens. And that's something we knew going into that movie because they had to connect Episode 3 to Episode 4. So that's fine. Cut to the original trilogy, A New Hope. Luke is, not knowing anything about the movie going into it, we would have to say, okay, well, when we meet Luke, he is a new hope. They pretty much spell it out that like Luke is a Force sensitive. He's he's the son of a Jedi, Anakin Skywalker, and yeah, Empire Strikes Back. If not knowing anything about that movie going into it, you would have to assume The Empire Strikes Back. So
yeah, it's pretty explicit there.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi is coming back. So Force Awakens, like you just said, pretty vague, right?
Yeah, I think it fit the tone because everybody kind of expected there's not going to not be Force users in this movie. Like, and also, you can't really not have one.
The idea of awakening after a long dormant sleep, which is the franchise essentially, that makes sense. So this one though, I feel is so deliberately
vague is definitely the best word.
It's just very vague.
Yeah. It's interesting. Ryan Johnson has apparently had this since the first script. Like, he's had this title in mind from the very start of the story. So, it's possible that this really is super tied into the story itself. Like, it kind of seems like he might have titled it this because it is so ingrained in what actually happens in the plot. So I think we got to talk about the initial debate. Anybody who's listening to this who has been talking about it on Twitter or mulling it over is probably already screaming at us like, The Last Jedi. It doesn't necessarily just mean Luke. Like, Jedi is singular and it is plural. So it's highly possible that it's talking just about Luke or it's talking about Luke and Rey. We don't really know. So what do you think about that? Do you have any bets you want to place on whether or not this is about Luke or if it's about Luke and Rey as a duo of Jedi?
I bet I can probably put a bet on what it means.
Do you want to? I'll bet you a starfighter.
A starfighter?
Just kidding.
Okay. Well, not your Naboo one.
Yeah, not my Naboo one.
Okay, fine.
The Soul Lego one sitting on my desk.
Okay, all right, fine. Okay, so I think Last Jedi, I'm going to bet that it is Luke. Singular. I'm putting my money on singular on this. This is roulette table of red and black, and the red being the singular and the black being plural. And I'm going to say singular.
I knew you'd take that bet because you just got back from Vegas. So that's interesting. I don't think you could be that far off. I think a lot of people might argue with you that it doesn't necessarily just mean Luke, but if we look back at what Ryan Johnson has been saying about this movie for the past couple months, the movie is going to have a huge focus on Luke Skywalker. May not be the primary focus, but the focus of this movie will be on Luke Skywalker.
Meaning you think that Luke will have lines in this movie. Not that I'm mad about his role in the last one. I really liked how they used Luke in the last one. I loved not knowing, but yeah, you think that he will have lines.
He definitely will have lines. This movie, as far as Johnson has said in, USA Today interviews and things like that, he has said that there will be a large focus on Luke. And there will be a huge focus on Rey and Luke's relationship. So I think it's not out of the question to say it's just about Luke because this could be mostly his story. And that is fair, considering that they have been touting this new movie as the next entry in the Skywalker saga. I think that's something you actually texted me when I sent you that news. That was like the first thing you kind of noticed. Did you have thoughts on that?
There was not much in that press blurb. Speaking of things that are going to stoke the fire, the plural singular thing, the title itself, and what it means, for the plot, and the idea, they said the next entry in the Skywalker saga. And again, with the singular plural debate, there are two directions you can go with them using that nomenclature, I guess. in that description. The first way is just because, we have Star Wars stories now, Rogue One,
right.
Han Solo, whatever comes after that. We have entries in the Star Wars saga that are not Skywalker focused. So we need some way to differentiate what movie's coming out this year and next year and the year after.
Right.
So that's the, just the literal way to take it. The cryptic, vague way to take it is if a Skywalker entry in the Star Wars saga, meaning that, this is a Skywalker focused film, and it could be referring to Rey being a Skywalker, and it could be referring to the idea that Kylo Ren is a Skywalker, because he is,
Well, yeah, of course. Okay, well, that's interesting. As far as the press release goes, like, having done press for companies before, like, the press releases, it's very much like a company thing. I don't think that this press release has anything to do with the story or teasing the story. I think that line was simply just a marketing term to let outlets and let people that are reading the press release know that this is the next episodic movie, because they're not putting episode 8 in the title anymore. Like the logo that they put in the poster, when they're referring to it in press releases and on the website, they're referring to it as Star Wars The Last Jedi, Star Wars The Force Awakens. They're leaving out the episodic numbers now, where they have never done that before. So this is kind of like their way of making up for that, I think.
What do you think about that in general, removing the episode? Do you think that this is kind of a move to eradicate the idea of this being a trilogy?
That's an interesting thought, but no, I don't think so.
You think they're going to focus on the trilogy?
Yeah, I do. I mean, as far as it's been planned, like, this will just be a trilogy. There could be they could restart the trilogy. It's kind of hard to say. Like, it is weird. Like, it would be kind of odd to move on from these new characters after 3 movies because they're so young, and, like, the series is so alive right now. The franchise is huge. Like, it would be weird to just, like, cut them out and then come up with, like, a new story. So I don't know. It's hard to say, and I feel like that's an entirely different thing. But as far as, like, the episodic names being left out, episode 7, episode 8, those things being kind of left out of the marketing, I think it's purely a marketing thing, because remember, these are selling a lot of toys. It's a lot easier to just say Star Wars The Force Awakens.
I think it's a marketing term too, but my concern, maybe not a concern, maybe my idea is that they're moving to make it more of kind of a Star Wars story kind of thing, but in a different, not a different timeline, but a different chronology. How
just maybe an ongoing series rather than
like a Fast and
like the Marvel
Furious
movies.
Yeah,
okay.
like they're creating a cinematic universe as opposed to a universe that is made up of trilogies, which would be so far against tradition. But as we're finding out more and more with Episode 8, this is a movie that's breaking tradition.
Yeah,
between the direct, the no lag between movies, the direct pickup. I just think, what if this is kind of a move, and it's not a bad thing, I'm not against it, but what if it's a move towards a less of a trilogy and more of a universe that they're building here?
That's an interesting thought, and I could see how that's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was happening. But for now, as far as we know, like, I feel like it's just easier to market the movie and its, many pieces of merchandise when you're just saying The Last Jedi. Like, it's so much easier to put in a box. You don't have to, these numbers are getting up there now.
The Roman numerals are getting, there's a lot of eyes piling up.
It's going to get it's going to get confusing, and kids these days are not learning Roman numerals in school. So I feel like they're just leaving it out there to kind of make it a little bit more simplistic. It just, from a marketing standpoint, I think it's just smarter.
I agree. I'm just hypothesizing here.
Yeah. So otherwise, the story, we know it's going to be about Luke. We know it's going to be about Rey and Luke, and probably some training, in sort of like an echo to Empire. However, Rian Johnson has said on record that tonally, this movie will differ from Empire. Whereas Empire was a darker film in the original trilogy, this one, he says, tonally is going to emphasize fun. He wants it to be fun. He wants it to be like a ride. Like, he liked the way that The Force Awakens was paced, and he kind of wants to match that in a way. So I don't expect that this one is going to be very dark, but that's kind of it kind of contradicts the color scheme that they chose for this poster.
Oh, okay. We want to talk about that now.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, I don't know how much you can really read into that, but you've got like these Sith red letters for Star Wars, and that's something they've never done before. Generally, they just stick to yellow.
Well, I mean, that's not necessarily true, right? That they've never done it before?
I mean, they do like blue for the like intro to the credits, but mostly like when they do like the outline lettering for Star Wars, like the Star Wars logo, generally it's yellow, is it not? Have they ever done red before?
I believe so. Conferring with my roommate on this one, we were talking it over, and he said when, he has a brother that's a few years older than him, and who is, he experienced the original trilogy as it came out. Mm-hmm. And he said Return of the Jedi, the original title. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of there's a lot of red in that one.
You're right.
So I mean, I wouldn't say it's a completely novel thing, and it may be a misdirect
or an allusion to that. That's actually not bad. If it's actually a callback to the original logo for Return of the Jedi, that's not bad.
Yeah, I don't think that it's. I also just don't want to read too far into it because companies change their logos all the time. Companies mess with their colors and their graphics, and it's usually to the chagrin of the consumer. But I don't want to put too much stock in it being a different color because I'm sure in various media we're going to see it like in red, and we're going to see it in yellow on the theatrical poster when it gets put up in theaters. I just don't want to think about it too much, but I do like the idea that you're posing here, that it's but doesn't it contradict what Rian Johnson's saying about fun and
yeah, that's how I feel. Like when it came out, I was like, that's interesting because the red sort of like it's a sinister color, it's an angry color. It's a color that reflects everything that like in this universe, like the dark side and the Sith are all about.
Well, I think of Kylo Ren's lightsaber.
Yeah, Kylo Ren's lightsaber as well. So, like, it's okay. Well, in that case, like, is the Last Jedi Kylo? Like, who knows? It's weird. I didn't think that I would be reading into the color of a logo on a Star Wars poster instead of, like, the actual universe itself.
That's how you know you're a little too invested when you're just like...
Probably. So, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't read too much into it. It is sort of like a weird...
It's fun to toss around. I hear you. It's fun to toss around.
It all is. It's all is. So... It's either the movie could either be talking about Luke, it could be talking about Rey and Luke as a plural form of Jedi, or, and this is my theory. I want to put out this theory.
Oh boy,
I think it would be most interesting if the Last Jedi referred to the end of Jedi tradition.
Okay, this is something that also crossed my mind. I'm glad you're going here.
I like the idea that they need, like, they, meaning like Luke and Rey, like they need to embrace the dark side in order to defeat Kylo Ren and his knights, like the Knights of Ren. I feel like that there's going to be a conflict, and I feel that with all of the meditation that Luke has been doing in his self-imposed exile on that rock, that he's going to come to some realization, and those tendencies that we've talked about with Luke throughout these many episodes where, he almost crosses into the dark side. And like, there are moments where he kind of uses the dark side to bend beings to his will and to essentially save the day. Like, he's not as far from the dark side as we think. And I'm thinking that there's a possibility that in his training, he's going to teach Rey that you can't always just stick to the light side. Sometimes you have to dabble in the dark in order to defeat the darkness. And that might be a little more detailed than it'll actually come to be. But I have a feeling that when they say Jedi, it's not talking about an individual person. It's not talking about two people. It's talking about the concept and the training of the Jedi Order.
I like that a lot.
As a whole.
Well, I think it also kind of parallels not the absence of the Sith, but the kind of perversion of the Sith that we're seeing in Force Awakens. I mean, we have obviously Kylo Ren worshipping in a way, kind of ogling the Darth Vader mask. So, I mean, obviously that is a Sith relic. But, I mean, does Snoke ever say Sith? I mean, Kylo, does he say Sith in Force Awakens?
No, I don't really know if the Sith is really mentioned in the Force Awakens, at least not that I can recall. That might come back to bite me, but...
Right. I mean, as far as that goes... Kylo Ren, and the Knights of Ren, we really don't know many details on what that entails. So what if, just as the Knights of Ren are kind of a new Sith kind of offshoot, who knows? But I mean, maybe something new will come from the Jedi tradition, which is what I think you're putting out there, is that like Luke is going to show Rey a different way, and Luke will be the last Jedi, and Rey will be something new, some hybrid or some different tradition. I just think it's a cool idea to think about, like that tradition has to end, which
at the very least, I think this would be the most interesting direction to go if we're going off of the title alone for the plot. But as a counterpoint to that, if this were to come to pass, if this was the plot of the movie, that they turn to the dark side, at least in a small way, in order to defeat Kylo Ren, Snoke, whoever their adversaries may be, that's going to retcon the entire theme of the Force throughout all of the movies.
How?
Because going through this entire saga, like, no matter what you read, I'm starting to come around to the more muddied version of the Force, and just like good and evil, and like how you can't have one without the other, you can't defeat one without a little bit of the other. But growing up, like, you were either the dark side or the light side. It was black and white. There was no gray area. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's really going to change the way that maybe the youth or most people perceive how things are done. And maybe that's probably fine. Like, I like that. I like a little ambiguity, and that gray area is definitely cool. It's more interesting that way. But doesn't it kind of change what we know about the good and the bad?
It depends how you look at it. I mean, this is kind of a topic we went on a while ago, but balancing the Force. What does it mean? And who's doing it? Anakin or Luke?
Mortis.
Notice how that's not one episode. That's not one of the memories episode that I called back to at the beginning.
I actually liked that one. I wanted to put that in the memories, but because it was so different. It was so like not only was the content different, but it was a.
I just didn't want to think about. I didn't want to think about that arc again. But yeah, so it's all about balance. Check out that episode. Probably 6 months back or something at this point. But yeah, I mean, what is balancing the Force and who's doing it? So, I mean, does what you're saying actually mean that we have to retcon the Force here? If Luke creates a new tradition, if he is the last Jedi and creates something new? I mean,
it doesn't change everything that's happened in the universe, but I think it would change like the general viewer perception of how the Force works and how the Force like balances things. I'm sure that could be explained out. And if they do that, like, I think I'll be a lot happier with the movie. Like, I'll be so stoked with just that idea. Like they're going off the path. Like, I love that. But I just wonder how that might change like the general perception of the Force for people that aren't as involved in all of the different aspects and interactions that people have with the Force in this series. You know what I mean?
I think the Jedi themselves have kind of been painted as not always, the right path, though, throughout the series, especially prequel trilogy. We're talking, with Qui-Gon wanting to train Anakin and some of the decisions they make in Clone Wars. I think that it wouldn't necessarily be a retcon. It would it seems like something they've been pushing for a long time, is that, there needs to be a balance between the two that is not strictly Jedi or strictly Sith. And
maybe retcon was the wrong word.
Well, no. I think you're right. I mean, I think your initial thought was correct. Like, it's going to change, like what is happening to Luke at the end of Return of the Jedi. We're going to have to look at that in a different way. If we find that he's found some new balance, if he's found that the Jedi way is not the right way, because he's so dark at the beginning of Return of the Jedi, in Jabba's palace and dressed in black, and he confronts the darkness and everything and assimilates it for his battle with Vader and Palpatine. But it's definitely going to say like, oh, did he choose the light side at the end of that battle, or did he integrate the darkness into what he became?
I hope that this is part of the movie.
Yeah,
I hope. I really do. Predictions, right? But
yeah.
Who knows? Like, we don't even have a trailer yet. We're just going off a title, but I would love that. I would love that so much.
What else is going on in relation to this reveal? You have some stuff in our little outline here.
Oh, yeah. So Rian Johnson also revealed that there will be a crawl. They dropped it into the movie, like into the cut of the movie just after they publicly announced the title. So they dropped in the title card and the crawl. So that's definitely going to be in the movie.
Is that much of a reveal, though?
No, I mean, we knew that there was going to be one, but this kind of confirms it because of the ambiguity of how the movie is going to start out, because we know that there isn't going to be a jump in time. So what's interesting about this is that there is going to be a crawl, but what is that going to explain? Because if we know that there isn't going to be a big time jump, what good does the crawl actually do?
But did he clarify when the crawl is going to happen? Because we spent a whole episode describing possibilities for this one in that is the crawl going to happen and like right off the bat, or is the crawl, we're going to have a cold open into the crawl, So, I mean, the idea that there's a crawl in this movie is kind of like saying, like, I mean, is the sky blue most days, depending on where you live, I guess, but...
Yeah. No, he didn't say exactly where it was going to be. All he said in the caption was, felt so good to drop this into the cut this morning. So that's literally all we know. The screens don't reveal anything on the editing computer, so...
Oh, The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the picture right now. We'll have this in the show notes if you haven't found it yourself yet. But yeah, they drop the crawl in. Wow. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's definitely like a shot you don't get to see too often. Just the editing bay. They didn't put that in any of the behind the scenes stuff.
It's such a tease because because they're showing me right now, they have the movie pretty much in the bag and they're just going to sit on it for 10 months, just...
I love the sparseness of this workspace too. Like you've got a dual screen, you've got some very nice studio speakers, you have what looks like an iPad Pro with a smart keyboard, and then on this other table you've got this R2D2 Fig, which is totally awesome, and a box of tissues and a Cisco phone. It's
what a mix of tech.
I know, it's like so corporate, like everything about it is so corporate, and then you just have this little R2D2 just sitting over there in the corner reminding you what you're working on.
Just in case you forgot where you were.
Yeah. That's cool. So yeah, he revealed that. And then I'll put a couple of other things in the note, none that I really want to go deep on in the show, but Hollywood Reporter did a neat little wrap-up of all the times that The Last Jedi was used in Star Wars history. So it includes like... There was a comic book. It was like, comic episode, like comic number 40 something back in the original run.
Pablo Hidalgo put this one out there, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. He put that out there. Then there are two other books, and one came out in 2013. So don't read into any of that. Like, things have been reused in this universe 1,000 times. But just kind of a neat little thing if you want to look into and read into some more expanded universe stuff. Yeah,
I wouldn't go looking for any plot details being extracted from those works. Yeah. But definitely, it's just cool to see that this thing has been cropping up before.
Yeah, and if Rian Johnson really had that title in mind for a really long time while he was working on the story for this movie, I bet he's super glad that book was released in 2013. And not late 2014 or 2015, because otherwise it would have been involved in canon and he couldn't use it. Another fun thing, I'll put a couple of like tweets and Reddit posts into these notes where people called the title in like 2015. These people were, just like throwing stuff out there, seeing what stuck. And a couple of people nailed it. Like in December, one girl actually called it in October of 2015. And she was talking about The Walking Dead. So I don't really know what to make of that, but it's just kind of funny.
Wait, she was talking about The Walking Dead and then called the Star Wars title? Okay, I see.
Yeah, it's a strange tweet.
So at Bleaku says, I need them to make a movie called The Last Jedi, and it must star # Lenny James, # The Walking Dead, # Morgan. This is like a reply all episode where I just don't get a lot of... I get some of it, but I don't get a lot of the tweets, so I have to have somebody explain it to me. I don't watch The Walking Dead.
I'm way behind on The Walking Dead, so I can't help you there, but I'm assuming that's an actor from The Walking Dead, and they really want them to be in a Star Wars movie?
Called The Last Jedi, and it must star Lenny James.
Yeah. So this is from October of 2015. Huh. Sort of cool. These people don't even realize it. They completely forgot they tweeted this. I responded to the one guy who tweeted that title in December December 16th, 2015. Also, calling it right now, either episode 8 or episode 9 is going to be called The Last Jedi. I responded to him, nice. And his response to me was just like some jabroni response, like he had no idea what the hell I was talking about because he didn't look at what I was replying to. I'm like, dude, you called the title of the biggest blockbuster of 2017 in 2015. He's like, oh, cool. Like, he had no idea.
That's great.
I would love to be that right about something so far in advance.
My money would have been on episode 9 being called The Last Jedi, just based on end of trilogy having some kind of like Revenge of the Jedi, or Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, whatever, it seems like it would be a really good bookend for a trilogy, is to The Last Jedi and then have some big climactic Last Jedi. But I mean, if The Last Jedi is happening in the second installment of this trilogy, what's going to happen in episode 9?
We don't know.
Hypothesizing about that at this point is just
I thought about bringing that up, and I'm just like, that's ridiculous, right?
That is absolutely ridiculous. That is one of the more ridiculous ideas we've ever had.
Let's hypothesize.
Next week on Bantha Fodder, we talk about episode 9 and everything we know about.
Oh, man. Do you have any other plot predictions for episode 8?
I feel like we kind of, in the Rey episode we did last year, I kind of went over everything that I think is going to happen for this one.
Do you want to recap any of that?
I have to remember it first. I mean, I still want Rey to be not a Skywalker.
Okay. Do you want her to be a Kenobi?
No, I don't want her to be a Kenobi either. I think I made it pretty clear. I just want her to be a person who is Force sensitive, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about my clone theory?
Yes, I do.
Oh, man. Okay, so my clone theory, I'm not even 2 feet into this. I couldn't even dip a toe in this, really. Maybe I'm dipping like my pinky toe in this. But my clone theory is that Rey is a clone of Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, I don't even know what sound effect to put in there for that.
Maybe like a wah, wah, or something. Or maybe like a boo. Yeah, okay, boo. Let's cue the boos right now. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so right now you're going to be... no, because the reason I don't like my theory... And I'll tell you why I do like the theory and why I don't like the theory. Let's start with why I don't. I don't like the theory that I probably didn't come up with on my own, but because it's kind of along with that whole reincarnation of Anakin Skywalker thing, which I didn't like because I don't like the idea of the virgin birth and I don't like all that stuff. But I was trying to figure out how... Because I see why Rey could be a Skywalker, and I see why some people are like, oh, she is a Skywalker. It fits all the puzzle pieces that I want. It makes Luke still, celibate. It makes Rey not a Kenobi, so we don't have to. So Obi-Wan retains celibacy. I don't know why celibacy matters to me. I just like, when I play D&D, I like monks and stuff like that. So, it explains why Rey is a great pilot. It explains why she's a great tinkerer, as you can see, she bypassed the compressor with Han Solo when she's on the Falcon.
I bypassed the compressor.
It makes it fit, but it also is just so dumb that I can't possibly get on board with it and think that anyone would do that. Also, cloning does exist in the Star Wars universe, as we saw. My roommate was like, but, Anakin Skywalker was a boy and Rey is a girl. And I'm like, they'll figure it out. Maybe they'll figure it out. I'm very ambivalent.
But would Vader consent to cloning?
He doesn't have to consent.
I mean, I guess not, but man, that's a pretty huge invasion.
No, this is why it's a bad theory. This is a bad theory, and I don't like it. But I just wanted to throw it out there. I forget even why I asked if you wanted to hear this, because we're talking plot ideas. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we throw that out? I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that's so out there.
It's so out there, but it just, I hate it. I hate that I even thought of it. I hate it so much.
Well, I've got a couple of ideas, just minor things, just like little plot points, nothing like major. I've just been kind of like thinking about what I'd like to see in this movie, and I don't think that like that is going to happen. I'm not dead set on these things happening, but just kind of thinking about where the story was going and the way that characters parted ways at the end. I have some ideas of what could happen in the movie. Probably the least interesting aspect of my plot predictions are that Finn and Poe they're going to set up separate plot points involving like a larger First Order rebellion conflict. Obviously, when we left Finn, he was kind of down for the count. I'm sure he's going to get healed up. That might even be part of the story. Like, he might be out of it for a while. I don't think he'll be like the R2-D2 of this movie like he was in The Force Awakens, but I think that those two are going to have a moment. I think that their relationship when they made their escape was just the beginning of this friendship. I think that they're going to become more of a team. I'm kind of eager to see that. I think that'll be really interesting. Just because the way that they were brought up, very different. Poe was brought up in the rebellion. His parents were pilots. Poe was brought up in the First Order. Like, he knows nothing but the military life. Like, they lead very different lives, but they're fighting for the same cause. And I think that juxtaposition between the way that they're brought up is going to be interesting. And I think it makes them a good pair. So I'd like to see more of that. Maybe not a prediction, but something that I'd like to see. And then I also want to see, like, there has to be a Knights of Ren face-off. I feel like the Knights of Ren have to find and attack Rey and Luke, and I just, like, in my mind's theater, I'm seeing Rey and Luke kind of being cut off from one another. Luke is kind of hounded by a majority of the Knights, while Kylo Ren seeks vengeance on Rey on his own. So he kind of like corners her, and it's kind of like a rematch from the Force Awakens. And I think that'd be really cool to see after they've both received more training, kind of a more advanced fight. That would be interesting. While at the same time, we see Luke just like going nuts on these kids in masks. I just think that would be like the coolest thing.
So this is under the assumption that the Knights of Ren are all still alive. Yeah,
it is. And I don't really know where the assumption is that they're all dead. I don't know where that's coming from, because we only see them once in a Force vision.
You checked the cast list for that, didn't you? And you said that character that is speared by Kylo Ren in that vision is not like a Knight of Ren.
No. That was just kind of like a goofy observation. In that, if you slow down the clip where Rey's Force vision shows the Knights of Ren like attacking whoever, like some being is like speared by one of them, and it just kind of looked like Constable Zuvio, like a background character from Jakku, like not a major character at all, but he's like a character that got a toy and like didn't have lines. It just kind of looked like that. I thought, well, that's kind of funny, but like, why would they kill Zuvio? Like, that's interesting.
So he didn't get an actual cast.
No, I don't know anything about cast members as far as
not cast members, but like credit, I guess, like a role credit. Whatever happened in that Force vision needs to be illuminated and clarified in this movie. That's what I'm looking for as far as plot goes, is to clarify some backstory. I mean, what if that Force vision is not necessarily something from the past that happens to Rey, but what if it's a premonition?
Well, I don't think that's one of the Knights. I think that's an assumption. I don't think he's killing his own kind. I think that was an attack on some group for some reason, because it definitely looks like there are a lot of bodies on the floor, and it from the confidence of the way that the Knights are standing in that pack, it doesn't look like many of the bodies are theirs. So I don't know. My prediction, or my kind of hope for a major action part of this plot would be that the Knights of Ren are almost entirely intact. I mean, we don't really know what that means.
So while the Force Awakens is happening, you think on like some planet somewhere, the Knights of Ren are just doing like cardio and just flipping over each other and mock lightsaber battles and constructing new lightsabers and just being all around mean dudes.
Yeah, they're like Team Rocket. They're just hanging out in like their basement lair underneath a casino and just waiting for Kylo to bring him in. I honestly don't know. I don't know anything about the Knights of Ren. I actually think they're like maybe one of the most interesting points of lore in this new saga. I'm stoked on it. I love everything that they're putting into Rebels as far as like lore goes with the Mandalorians. They're putting some really cool stuff in there, and this kind of reminds me a little bit of the Mandalorians. It's more of like a mercenary knight situation, and that brings them sort of like a medieval aspect, and that speaks straight to me. As a Tolkien nerd, like, I love that. I love, like, swords. That's why I liked lightsabers growing up, because they're like, ooh, future swords. But I like when a futuristic saga brings back in points and like references to, I guess, more fantasy mythology, and kind of have like a blend of those two things. I'm really interested in the Knights of Ren. I really hope that they're a more major point of plot in this movie than they were in the first one, and maybe even the next movie after that. I just want to know more about them.
I think we need to have Luke confronting Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. Yeah. Just because, based on what I've read so far, I'm working on Bloodline right now. Leia references Luke and Ben pretty constantly. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe not constantly, but periodically through the book, she's referring to Luke and Ben being kind of a unit. You know, like Ben and Luke are just, you know, kind of attached to the hip, from what it sounds like in Bloodline.
I think at that point in the story, Ben has been sent off to be with Luke. Like he's not with his parents at that point.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying, is that Luke is good. I mean, we need to have some confrontation between Kylo and Luke, whether that results in Luke Skywalker's death or not. I mean, The Last Jedi, who knows? I mean, again, there's so many ways to take it. Like, who is the end of the movie, The Last Jedi standing, going to be the Last Jedi, or is the beginning of the movie Luke being the Last Jedi? There's a lot of ways to think about it as far as plot goes, but I do think we need to have some. I think when Luke and Kylo Ren get into a room together, we're going to find some stuff out about what you're looking for. I'm
interested. I'm very excited for it. When I first saw the title, I actually saw it on Instagram. I was scrolling through his Instagram one morning before, and I saw it pop up on like one of the fan accounts that I follow through Bantha Fodder, because I was going through Bantha Fodders and just kind of I follow all the fan accounts there. That way I can keep it all in one spot and see what's going on. And I constantly see like fan made posters. And I just expected this to be one of them. I saw the red font. I saw The Last Jedi, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. And then I scrolled down 2 more photos, and I saw another one, another fan account. I'm like, uh-oh, I'm missing something. So I went to Twitter, which is like my canonical resource for anything pop culture. And sure enough, that was like the real thing. So at first, admittedly, I didn't like the title. I thought, well, that's kind of corny, and it's kind of easy. Like I didn't feel like that was like a very interesting or intriguing title. But the more that I think about it, and the more that I kind of dig into this idea that it's the Jedi way that's kind of on its way out. That, you know, it's the last Jedi in the way that is no longer going to be like a thing as far as the Skywalker saga is concerned. I think that's interesting. I think that's something to think about, and that's what's going to be fueling me for the next 10 months.
10 months.
10 months.
Oh, boy.
Hey, we get a Rogue One DVD release sometime soon, sometime in the middle of that, and there's going to be a Thrawn book.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be cool. At some point, you're going to finish Bloodline. I'm going to have to reread Bloodline so that we can talk about it.
Yeah, buddy. Give me a couple months on that one.
Are you just reading on the train still?
No, I read like maybe like half a chapter before bed, or like whenever I have time to kill. There's just so many things going on.
Yeah. It's hard to read in 2017. You know, I really want to just cut out Twitter and I just want to read. But the thing is, there's so much going on in the world that I feel like I have to be on Twitter to know what's going on.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would scoff at saying that it's not a lot of time to read.
Maybe. I mean, but as far as like you and I go, like we got a lot going on.
Yeah, we do. But the world does. So what are you thinking? Preview trailer for this Super Bowl Sunday?
Oh my gosh, that early? I don't know.
What do you mean that early? I mean, what was the timeline I saw posted the other day? I think the title Force Awakens dropped 2 weeks before the trailer, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember watching the trailer during a football game. I don't think it was the Super Bowl. It was before
it wasn't.
The Super Bowl.
The 2 weeks from the day that the trailer dropped is Super Bowl Sunday, buddy. So.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that, Mike. Why did we leave that for the last 2 minutes of this episode?
I think that's important. Sense. I think that's all we can put it. I think now we got to say goodbye and see what happens in like a week and a half from recording this. Yeah. Go Patriots! Man, we just lost all of our subscribers there.
Is that the team that's in the Super Bowl?
Oh man, come on.
I legitimately don't know. I didn't know that the Super Bowl was coming up. It's news to me.
That's okay. All right.
I just bought a pair of Steph Curry shoes. Does that mean anything? He's a basketballer.
He's a basketballer. That is a different sport, but you know we're gonna get you there. If The Last Jedi trailer premieres at the Super Bowl. Will you watch it?
Oh, I always watch the Super Bowl for the chips and the dips.
And now for the Star Wars preview, hopefully.
Yeah, now for the Star Wars preview. I really like the one about the commercials about farmers. I like those.
What about the Pokemon one last year? The Pokemon 20?
I don't remember that. I just remember the ones about farmers.
Okay. Oh, man. Anyway, is it time to say goodbye?
Yeah, that's it. It's time to say goodbye. So this has been episode 17, and we appreciate, again, everybody who's listened to the show so far. We appreciate all the feedback, all the criticism, all of the downloads, all the listens, all the shares. You guys are great. We appreciate everybody who's been interacting with us on Twitter, sending us emails, leaving reviews for us on iTunes. It's all super, super helpful. So keep it up. Keep doing that. Keep sending us ideas. Keep writing in and sharing your ideas about whatever it is that we're talking about. I'd love to hear all of it. I love talking about Star Wars. We'll have notes to everything that we've been talking about in this episode here in probably in your podcast player. I'm assuming you're listening to this in a modern podcast player that shows show notes, but if not, you can find it at banthafodder.fm/episode/17.
And tweet at me at Mike Kamate, tweet at Jake at Jacob Tender, tweet at us at Bantha Fodder FM, and we will probably respond to you within seconds because we have nothing else to do but be on social media all times. No time to read.
Very, very true. All right, so I think that's it.
See you for Super Bowl Sunday. Keep your fingers crossed.
Go Millennium Falcons.
There you go, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
I can't believe you said go Patriots. You have no idea how divisive it is to say you're a Patriots fan.
I don't know what I'm saying.